Welcome to Nashville Realtors podcast with Brandon Hanna Properties, discussing everything you need to know for Nashville real estate. And here are your hosts for Nashville's Realtor, Brandon Hanna and Alec Lehman, your experts in everything Nashville real estate.
Hey guys, welcome back. Brandon Hanna, Alec Lehman, Nashville's Realtor podcast. We're doing a part two to the episode just previous to this, kind of regarding this COVID-19 coronavirus and how it's impacted our market.
And it has. I feel like, we get these calls all the time, and we talked about it on the last episode, but I feel like it has, but not to the degree that I feel like people are calling us with a little bit more worry than we're seeing. Yeah. And it's our job, just because, he's been in real estate since early 2000s. And so, you went through the 2008, recession, mm-hmm. and that's about as bad as it got for our real estate market. And so people are calling us, is it going to get to there? Is it going to be this? And quite frankly, we're not seeing it yet. We had touched on buyers, and, if you had maybe a need to buy, your inventory may not be as strong as it could be. So as things kind of ramp back up, as things kind of open up throughout the city, if you're a buyer, maybe you could hold off and kind of be a little bit more patient. I think a lot of the sellers are waiting. The people that have to sell, we were talking just before this, May is typically a strong time to put your house on the market. School's out, weather's starting to turn a little bit. The desire to get into a home right after school gets out and kind of live in a place for a summer, kind of get the feel, and then go to school the next, that starting season. So you kind of get acclimated to that community, if it's a new community, or that school system if it's a new school system. But we were saying our buyers, maybe just hold off a little. If you haven't found the one, don't panic. We think that sellers are kind of keeping their home. If they don't have to sell their home, we're thinking that sellers will definitely kind of push, or I feel like agents will probably push their sellers to maybe just pump the brakes until all of this kind of opens back up. And then we're thinking maybe, that we'll see a little influx in inventory. And so if you're a buyer, that's great, because your inventory, the amount of, options that you will have will increase. And if you're a seller, we've got all these buyers chomping at the bit, looking. And so, we were talking to, our buyers are still calling us when they see these houses hit. They're like, they become a little bit more anxious, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're wanting to go and see it. And so, and we're telling them, maybe just hold off. We're going to see a little bit more inventory. And so when they do see one, they pounce on it. And so I honestly, we were talking to, it just seems like the market hasn't done as poorly as maybe we had thought it was going to do. We're still seeing our buyers buy, and we're still seeing our sellers sell.
The end is yet to come.
Yeah.
However, it's very promising that I think there are some opportunities on both sides, just like you hit on. If you're out there thinking, I'm going to sell my house, well, you've probably spent the last 2 months decluttering every corner, every cobweb, your garage, your pantry, because we've had all this time. So I think it'll be a great opportunity when houses come back on the market for buyers, but don't be scared to list right now, because inventory is low. It can really present an interesting scenario of scarcity that we haven't seen in a long time. I don't think the markets, they say real estate's local. What does that mean? Well, it means that real estate in Nashville is not affected directly by something that's happening in California or vice versa. Now, if we're having a nationwide pandemic like what's happening now, that's going to affect everybody. But our Nashville market, job growth's still incredible. Businesses are still moving to town. I saw an interesting stat. Brentwood, Maryland Farms specifically, just set a record of commercial office space sales in the first quarter of this year. In the first 4 months, over $100 million of commercial office space has changed hands.
Wow.
In the middle of this. So they saw it as a buying opportunity. In fact, some of the prices that sold set records per square foot compared to anything else that sold previously. So there's a lot of factors that we look at as we're helping to guide you, whether it's your first townhome you want to purchase or it's a commercial building you're thinking of buying and leasing out. Tenants are still needing a place to stay. Buyers, people are still doing their thing. They need a home. So I really am excited about the rest of this year. I think it's going to be a blip in time where we're really come out screaming at the end of this in a good way. One of the things we talked about, refinancing opportunities, and then what does this mean for your current mortgage? If you guys own a house now, have you requested a forbearance or a deferment? A lot of these companies are allowing forbearances right now, which means you just get a few months off, but you owe it all as soon as those few months are done. A deferment is where they tack it on at the end. People are going to get themselves, I'm afraid, into some sticky situations.
So I had somebody call me the other day, and he had said, "You'd never believe it. My mortgage broker called me." He said and I don't think the mortgage broker was fully informed as well, but I'm glad he called me before he pulled the trigger on it, because he told me, he was like, "There's this thing, it's called," I think he referred to it as the deferment. He basically, you don't have to pay, you get your 3 months off and they just tack it on to the end, where there could be some, what are the word? I mean, some
negative
detriment
consequences
to that. Yeah, some
sure.
long-term, if you wanted to go and buy something later on, that stays with you. So
this is not a mortgage podcast, but we will say we would deal enough with it. Ask a lot of questions. And if you don't know the questions to ask, use us, because we're getting these questions all the time. Your credit score, all the lenders are saying your credit score won't be impacted, which is true. However, sometimes on your credit report, they will see a deferment or a forbearance, and that's a negative strike against you. Even though your number doesn't change, it may affect lending down the road. So if it's a need, absolutely, that's what these resources are there for. If it's not a need, really ask all the right questions, because if you get, most of them are giving 90-day forbearances, which means you don't pay anything for 3 months.
Which sounds great.
At the end of that 90 days, you owe 3 months of mortgages plus the next month, because it'll be due. So think about paying 4 months of your mortgage all at once. I mean, again, if it's needed, that's what it's there for, but just be careful, ask the questions. Because of things like this, I could see people getting stuck, and the trickle effect of what that's going to do to the housing market lasting throughout the rest of the year. I don't see any great opportunities. However, interest rates are crazy low right now. The government pumping all this money in has made a great time to refinance.
So to talk about that, I mean, we had seen it, record lows at the beginning, end of 2019, early 2020, and then it kind of creeped back up maybe to the 4%-ish kind of areas. And now we're kind of seeing it kind of creep back down. And I mean, there was somebody the other day, they were in the 2.75, and then I talked to another guy the other day too. He said he got a 3.187. So great rates right now, and that's just a normal convention. There's nothing weird about that. It's not like a VA or anything like that. Those were actual rates. And so again, talk to your mortgage brokers.
I think it's great. For the most part, we don't promote refinancing unless you have a significant ability to drop your rate. And there's some rules of thumb, but just ask all the right questions. Mortgage brokers that are good and been doing it for a while are there as coaches to help coach you through this. They're not there to sell mortgages or to talk you into refinance unless it's really needed. But there are some brokers out there that will do that. So really get somebody on your team, and we have some great referrals we work with, some people that we really trust and have done a great job.
And again, we're not mortgage brokers, but we talk to them enough, and we have people asking us these questions to where we then have to go and find answers for them. And so we may just be a little bit more informed than the general public. But correct.
All of that trickles down onto our plate because it affects how you buy a house.
Exactly.
So if we're on your side to help coach you through this process, we want to make sure that we're knowledgeable about the best loans for you, the best refinance opportunities, the best resell. We've always said we talk people out of houses more than we talk them into it. We're not here to push and sell. We're here to make sure that you get a great deal, because we want to be your realtors for life. I mean, it's really a long-term thing here. And if you're in a great position and we've made sure that you've bought the house right, the old saying, you make money when you buy, very true in anything, but it's very important in real estate. And then it's a blessing the next time you sell and buy, and the next time and the next time.
Exactly.
We've got a lot of clients that we help with their first house, and now they're buying their fourth or fifth home, and even multi-generational clients. And so,
well, they're buying investment properties, and maybe they were like first married, and now they're having their kids, and now they got the job that they want, to where maybe it's allowed them to go and do an investment property. And so,
Exactly
for 20 years or 17, 18, 19, whatever years you've been doing it, and I've been here 5 years now. I mean, you see it. You see it. It's from the beginning, and as long as you do your job correctly, and like you said, we're not just pushing product, right? We're making sure that you always say the first thing you look at, resale value. So, obviously the old saying, location, 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 that's where you start, right?
Yeah.
And then you go through everything. The yard, the condition of the house, the finishes, the cosmetics. You kind of work all the way down through and kind of see. So again, it's fun to see. It really is fun to see.
And there's so much more to talk about. We're going to have to wrap this up, but as you're watching this, be thinking about all the other opportunities. Investment properties, second homes, interest rates are low for those as well. It could be a great time to consider if you've been on the sidelines thinking about this. It's not something to just jump in the deep end with, but ask a lot of questions. We're here to educate, we're here to help, and we really appreciate you joining us. Another Nashville Realtors podcast.
We will see you next time.